Hey everybody, good morning. It's another beautiful day. I just wanted to give a sneak preview on the day. I'm going to be going to a car show today, right before my wife, well, not right before my wife goes to work, because we're going to go there and shoot some footage of the car show. But that's coming in as well, and I guess that's not going to be a long video, because I guess that's, oh yeah, I forgot to tell y'all, I didn't want to keep y'all sitting so long at the first video about the son of a firefighter. I did have some good times growing up, going to my dad and my mom used to enter themselves in a contest, and I can remember two contests that that they had out there. One of them was a contest of I don't know what it's called, but it's where they put this metal ball on a zip line, and what it is they would take two pickup trucks, and they had two A-frame stands that stood up, and a zip line ran across the top of it. I guess it was about 100 feet, and they would place that ball in the middle, and then there would be two people on one side with a fire hose and two people other side with a fire hose, and they would get the water pumping just a little bit, and then when the whistle blew, they would hit full throttle on the water. And the object of the game was to try to make the ball go all the way to the other end, and once it hit so far past the other end, it was a contest. And they would practice for that, and they would enter themselves in some contests with other firefighters. I don't know if it was around the world or statewide. I guess it was worldwide. I can't remember because I was just a kid. But that was a lot of fun watching that ball go back and forth across the zip line, because you got two streams of water hitting the same ball, and they would get so far, and it would just, that ball would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until the ball would hit all the way to the other end. And it was sure fun doing that, because there was always barbecues and stuff like that being, we would just have a family fireman get together. It was a family thing, so it was fun to participate in that. Another contest they had that my mom liked the most was the fire truck would be sitting there with hoses on it, and the object of that was to see how the fastest, the person that could give the quickest time on. One person would be at the other end. I think they would all be near the truck at first. I can't remember. But one person would take the nozzle and run all the way out so far. And then one person would grab the fire hose itself and run with it. And I think they would count the connections of the fire hose. And then as soon as one of those joints got, the marked joint, which was, I forget what count it was, but they counted so many connections, and then two people would grab on each side of the connection, and then they would twist over their head and then come back down in front of them, and that would undo the fire hose. And then they would take the fire hose and run it around to the pump truck and hook it up to the truck, and then wait for the person to during the meantime, there would be the person that was carrying the fire hose, running with the fire hose, would run to the other end and hook the nozzle on the end of it, and then they would holler, "Okay," and then they would cut the water on, and as soon as the water come pushing out the end of the hose, because the person at the other end that hooked that nozzle up would do a scissor with his leg and hold that fire hose with his leg, down low with a nozzle pointed up in the air, and as soon as the water hit out the end of that nose, they would click the clock, and it was about a race. It was always it was a contest, and so when those contests would start coming around, a lot of practices would be going on, and so that's what we got to do as children of the firefighters, and family and friends as well. We would get to sit there and watch them practice, and I thought that was a fun thing to do, was to watch that. I always wanted to, come on, we would always, come on, let us try, we know we can do it, let us try, and they wouldn't let us do it because it, you know, the high pressure coming out that nozzle is very high, and so they wouldn't let us, they wouldn't let the kids participate, but we wanted to so bad, man. It looked so much fun to do, but you know, now looking back, I can understand, you know, that stream of water hits you, you know, at a close range. It could hurt you, you know, especially that water, I guess water polo, or I don't know what it was called, but it was where the, let's see if I can, it was where the two nozzles, the ball was in the middle, and so there would be hoses on each side like this, you know, 4 people, 2 on each side. And one of them had to work the hose to back. It's still rolling. Yeah, I can't believe it's still rolling. But anyway, it would be 2 people on each end, and the person behind there would be 2 people working the stream of the hose, and it would shoot that ball back and forth across that zip line, like so, and the ball would be up here, and it would, and they would work that ball. So when the people over here had to back up, it was the person behind the, you know, there's 2 people working the hose. It was the other guy's job, or the other person's job, to work that fire hose and maneuver the fire hose backwards. They had to back up, because those hoses are stiff. So they had to work together as a team to get that, you know, to get that ball. And believe me, sometimes that ball would sit there on that zip line and go, and you got a stream of water on each side of that ball. It was like, it wasn't as easy as it looked. That's what our parents told us, you know. Hey, it's not as easy as it looks. It looks fun, but it's a lot of work, and it was a lot of work. And I just I like going to those things, and it wasn't all about bad moments and everything. There was some good times being the son of a firefighter, but I did like going to those, man. And I like going on the run. I didn't get to go on the runs every time the beeper would beep. You know, I didn't. If I was with Dad when he got the call across this little beeper that he carried around, that little box, I got to go, you know. But I'd have to stay in the vehicle, and he had to park so far away from the scene to make sure I was safe. But those were the good times, man, of a firefighter. You know, it wasn't all bad, and I wanted just to finish that story because I didn't want to waste a lot of time on one video. I wanted to try to cut it up in 2 videos. But yeah, that was good times, man. It was good to see my mom out there participating in a contest. I think they got so far and got to go out of state a couple of times and compete against other fire stations. I think it would all, I don't know if it went all nationwide or not. I can't remember. But I do know that it was a big event, man. It was a big event, and it was just amazing how they would come up with something like that and have contests. And I wanted to share that with you out there, the things that would happen. But anyways, I'm gonna get off here and start getting geared up for the day. Clean old Louise out again, get her all looking pretty. I don't want to enter into a contest just yet. The main reason is because I don't have the money to enter my vehicle in the contest. I think the last contest I went to, it was $50, and we're squeezing for cash right now, so I didn't want to do that. But I guess that's the end of the video today. It's you know, it's one of them things where, you know, being a firefighter ain't always a bad thing. There can be fun times in it, and family get-togethers, and barbecue cookouts, and just in general. But But like I said in the last video, man, it's a long road whenever you're a volunteer and you're having to go take all these classes of safety. And there would be classes that my dad would have to take of how to read the aftermath of a fire to see where it started, if there was an accelerant used, things to grab if you needed fingerprints. It's very intriguing how fire acts, and how it starts, and how they got to know these things, you know, because when they just put out a fire, they just don't put it out and then psh, that's it, they go home. They have to sit there and analyze the scene of the fire. They got to know why it started. They ask the people that's staying at the residence or wherever the fire was at the time. They ask people around where it started, and then they start using they start using their knowledge to make sure that the people that are telling the story coincides with the evidence that's left after the fire, match up with each other. And you know, like fraud and things like that, or it's just one of them things. It's not just as easy as getting in your vehicle and running and putting out the fire and coming home, or especially fires, you know. Now, accidents are a different story. It's obviously that two people have an accident. Most of the time it's up to the police department. Dad trained hard, man. They would train on they would train in this old house that was just a big, long, tall, skinny building, and they would go in there and set the place on fire on purpose, so the newbies that was coming in the door for the volunteer work would know how to react in a fire, how to use your respirator, safety things, you know, for the firemen to practice. And they used to even make them analyze the fire and see what pattern this uses, you know, what a burn pattern is, and what to look for, and you're basically having to write down a report. You know, somebody has to write down a report on every fire of how it happened, and every accident of how it happened. So if they ever need to, if legal matters need to be taken at hand, or they suspect, like I said, fraud, or what do you call it, foul play, you know what I'm saying? If somebody started the fire on purpose, they would know of things to look for to find out if those things were, just basically, it's not as easy as you think it is. A lot of classes, a lot of training, a lot of prep work. The dad had to go down every so often and go to the fire station, and he would show me what they would how to inspect each and every individual thing, the jaws of life that would pry metal doors open and stuff like that. You'd stick them, you know, they have to make sure chainsaws, they have to make sure the cutting wheels, you know, they got a lot of equipment on the truck that they have to inspect, as well as the truck itself, of making sure everything checks out and works correctly and functions correctly, because they can't take a chance on something failing out there once they get on the scene. So that was always a thing. I can remember, what else did I want to tell you that was quite interesting? They just had a lot of practice things. They had a lot of things that the firemen had to do to keep that thing running. Oh yeah, Dad, when he created that pump truck, man, they started out with a chassis that he didn't build the part that he didn't build the part that the cosmetical thing of the fire truck. He engineered and designed the plumbing, the gauges, the levers. He had to add all that stuff. He had to design the mechanical works of the fire truck. And I was so proud of him and it was so interesting watching him design that on paper at home, and then going to Imperial Sugar where he worked, and using some of their tools to cut to weld and fittings and everything else. I just remember a lot of things that Dad had to do that was real interesting. It's just a real interesting thing to go through that I thought that was just so neat that they started out with just a cab of a regular truck ordered from the factory, and then it was his job and other people's job to come in there and design the works and how it went together and compartments and everything else. It was just amazing how volunteers in that town would create that fire truck and watch it go from just a frame on the back end of a truck all the way up to just watching it come together slowly. I wish I could have been on YouTube back then as a kid. It would have been a very interesting thing to do as to watch, because I got to see it come alive right in front of my eyes over a matter of months. It's just not that easy. They just don't say, well, back in the day when I was a kid, they just didn't, hey, we need a fire truck over here. We want this, and this. It wants to have this, and this on it. I don't know. Maybe they do make those now. Maybe they do have companies that manufacture fire vehicles for people now. But back in the day, man, Dad, it was a volunteer thing in a small town, and it saved him a lot of money by going locally with a lot of the sources that were in the town. And he was a very smart man, man. He like I said, he would go to other sugar factories in the United States. He only got to go to 2. One of them was in Wyoming, and it was owned by it was privately owned in the area by people, and the Imperial Sugar went in there, purchased the factory, and it was my dad's job to find out why this company keeps failing. And what happened was one of the boilers that boiled the I don't know if it was sugar cane. I think it was sugar beets up there, up north. Now down here in Louisiana, he deals with sugar cane, but up there it was sugar beets. And so he had to figure out why the company was failing miserably. And one of them was he showed up over there. He analyzed the situation. He said, your boiler. You know, your boiler, the main thing that turns the machine that boils the sugar beets and everything. Dadgum rat, man, I'm telling you, man, I'm catching them left and right over here. It's crazy. I'm never gonna again put my stuff in storage building, because it opens up a can of worms. You put your stuff in there. But anyway, where was I at? Oh yeah, he had to. They told him that you're gonna have to put the boiler out of here. You're gonna have to get a new boiler. They said, well, we can't get a new boiler because there is no way to get it in the factory, because the boiler was actually placed on the slab and then the building was built around it. And they told him that it couldn't be that it wouldn't be possible to do that. I wonder if I'm even recording still. It's blinking. Yeah, it's recording still. So anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, he took I forget how many cranes, and he had them cut the roof off of that whole factory and lift the top up off, and then set it. I think he had to lift it off in 2 pieces, but he lifted it with cranes and set it off on the ground, and then they installed the new boiler, and then he made him put the roof back on it and secure the roof and put it back on without having to tear it off and then redo it with new materials. He used the same roof, and some places I remember they had to do some new fabrication on the roof. But that was amazing watching my dad be the person that was over that. And in the end, the people bought back from Imperial Sugar the factory. Okay, you fixed our factory. Can we buy it back now? And they said, yeah. And they asked my dad to stay up there in Wyoming, and he told them, no. He says, I don't want to stay up here. And they said, why? You helped fix the factory. We want you to be the boss around here. We want you to be the #1 head honcho around here. And he told them no. He says, because you know, within reason, he's the main guy, but they still have a joint decision on how things are going. And he says, no, but he says, because I see that y'all are headed down the same road that you were headed down before, and I foresee problems in the future of how you're making decisions, and y'all aren't making right decisions, and I'm not going to stay over here and ride this train downhill again. I don't want to. So, you know, Imperial Sugar gave him the opportunity to dadgum, it's already been 20 minutes. So Imperial Sugar gave him the opportunity to move down from Wyoming to Louisiana, and that company was, I don't know if it was going under or either, but guy's a real smart guy, man. He can do math in his head. You can give him a long line of list of mathematical figures, triple digits, I don't know, but he would do that. You know what I'm saying? He was very good with math, and he was a very smart guy. So his career took off. I don't know if he ever went to college on any of that. I don't think he did. I don't even think he did college. He didn't go to college. So that was amazing that my dad made it as far as he has in his life with no college. It's just, he's an amazing kind of a guy. And one of these days I'm going to go over there to Louisiana, and I'm going to show you his cars that he's got in the back. He's held on to them. Every time he had a vehicle that he purchased, he would just leave it sit in the backyard. He's got like 3 or 4 Mustangs, 2 or 3 Harleys. He's got 1 Corvette. He's got a 53 Ford pickup, a 1970 or late 70 models 4x4 pickup. Oh yeah, that wasn't that Chevy that I told you about that I used to go to the fire calls on. That wasn't a Chevy. That was a Ford. He's a Ford guy. He doesn't like Chevys. I'm not gonna say he doesn't like them, but me and him is always, I'm a Chevy and he's a Ford guy. We would always poke back each other whenever we go there for Christmases and stuff. But maybe one of these days I can go over there and visit with him and shoot some footage of his vehicles that he's gotten through the years. The newer ones he would trade in and have them updated, but back in the day, and every time he gets an old one, he'll just put it in the back and leave it there. One of them was a '69 Mustang that he was planning on giving me whenever I grew up, and he caught me and my best friend out there when we were 9 or 10, jumping up and down the hood, jumping up on the hood and on the top of it, and we caved it in. He came out there and he was ticked, man. He was ticked. He didn't whip me, but he looked at me and he told me, man, that car was going to be for you when you grew up. I was going to end up fixing it up and letting you drive it around. He said, but now you'll never see it. And I begged him and told him I was sorry and everything else. But through the years, every time I go over there, I look at that old Mustang GT, and it's white. He used to drag race that thing, dude. He took a 289 and he bored it out and he souped it up, and he got back in the day it was a lot of horsepower, man. He got like almost 400 horsepower out of that thing with just a 289 motor. And I thought that was awesome. But and he's got a Bronco, and what else has he got that's interesting out there? He's just got a lot of interesting things that he's, and oh yeah, he's got that 302 Boss Mustang that's worth a lot of money. I love that thing. It was silver, and it had that black stripe going down it like this, and then down the side it says 302 Boss on it with the Hearst shifter in it. It's silver on the outside, black interior. Beautiful car back in the day. Him and my mom got married in it, and so he's hanging on to it for all these years. But he said he's going to rebuild it one day, and I would love to go over there and shoot footage of it, man. When he gets ready to rebuild it, I don't know if he'll have it do a lot of the work on his own, because he does know it's a lot of work, and it would be awesome if we could spend a little bit of time, shoot some footage on that thing. But like I said, man, I made him mad whenever I was a young boy, and we've kind of seen eye to eye a little bit, you know, through the years after I've left the house, you know. And then again, there at the end, I tried to get him to start spending time with me after Mom died, and he was just in so much pain after my mama died that he didn't even want to spend no time with me. No Christmases no more over at his house. No Thanksgivings no more over at his house. I'm hoping he heals up and has a change of heart, because, you know, for years, me and my children went over there for Christmases and Thanksgivings, and now it's just nothing. But anyway, I want to leave that story with you. This turned into a long vlog. I thought it was going to be a short one, but it turned out to be a long one. And anyway, peace. Limster out. And we'll shoot that car footage and see what it turns out, man. It's somewhat in the same area, but I think it's going to be a better car show. I think it's going to be classic cars instead of custom. Anyway, see y'all later.